Our next storyteller, if you were here last month, is Cas Torres. He works for the Fortune Society. Cas grew up on the streets of Hell's Kitchen. He told the story last month. You would have heard a pin drop here at Q.E.D. And as just a reminder, the Fortune Society was started by David Rothenberg over 50 years ago in the West Village to help people that are getting out of prison to adjust to society and help them out. It's now a huge organization. People from around the world come to see how he's able to do it because the recidivist rate is so low. And Cas now manages at least 3 or 4 of their buildings in the Bronx and in Manhattan. So Cas is going to just tell another story to follow up on his story in January. And I just say every month we're going to have somebody from the Fortune Society here telling their story and how Fortune turned their lives around. So Cas, come up.
Hi, thanks for coming, everybody. My name is Cas. I'm in Puerto Rican and Irish from Hell's Kitchen. I spoke last month about my childhood and how I was raised, my mother being an alcoholic, and how the state took us away when I was 6 years old. I'm going to kind of give you a tour of how you become institutionalized. At 6, we were taken away. At 6 years old, we were taken away. My mother, the state took us away to take care of us because we were in such a horrible environment. So we were taken upstate to an institution where basically we were brutalized, abused, tortured, subject to pretty much anything you could think of. Like I said last week or last month, just about anything abusive a person could do to a child, I experienced at some point. I was raised this way, and at 10 years old, I was introduced to alcohol and drugs, and I immediately found this to be the answer to my daily struggle and my pain. It relieved everything instantly, so I guess you could say I was an addict from the age of 10. From juvenile institutions, I was kind of aged out. And then from there, I was in the streets. And in the streets, I pursued the drugs that I was using and supported my habits with robberies, stealing, basically stuff like that. And naturally, I went to Rikers Island. The first time I went to Rikers Island, I was in my late teens. And I immediately realized that you have to be very violent to survive there, or you simply would not. The first night I was in Rikers Island, I saw a rape. The rape was one kid raping another kid. It wasn't the first time I had seen this, but it was the first time I'd been in jail and seen this. I realized I couldn't allow anybody to take advantage of me in any way, or I would be the next person being raped, being robbed, and being beaten. So I became the person that I needed to be to survive. I was in Rikers Island for a little while, and I was transferred to a little place in the Bronx called Hart Island. On Hart Island, that's where Potter's Field is. Potter's Field, I spent about 2 years there burying bodies. They have 3 holes. They have one for bodies, one for babies, and a separate hole for amputation, for limbs. A lot of guys get transferred there and can't do it and leave. Once a week, a funeral director will come and to claim a body that a family has, claimed. My job on the disinterment crew was me and 3 other guys, was to dig up this body, and it's an island, so everything is pretty much waterlogged. Dig up this body and put it in a casket that was hollowed out, and they would take it. The funeral director would give us a carton of cigarettes on the side and some money to the CO. From Hart Island, I was released back to the streets. I went back to Hell's Kitchen. From there, I continued to pursue drugs. In the street in Hell's Kitchen, it was very violent. Guns, knives, robbery, stuff like this. It was in the middle of the crack epidemic. I accumulated 67 arrests, most of them robberies. A lot of drug charges as well. In the streets, I got into a lot of fights. I got stabbed in the head, got hit with bottles, got stabbed in the back, and I did my own violence as well. But the truth was, when it comes to being addicted to drugs, when you're really strung out, you really don't have time for anything else, not even revenge. I committed crimes, went back to Rikers, was released, committed more crimes, and I finally made it to the big time. I was sent upstate to prison. When I first went to prison, I was put in a medium security facility. Again, this was the crack epidemic, so it was very crowded at this time in jails and prisons. This particular prison, they used a gymnasium for the overcrowding, double bunk. This was a place that was extremely dangerous. The things that were happening in this gymnasium was the same things that happened on Rikers Island, except with different weapons, more serious weapons. Rikers Island, basically, you got guys running around with razor blades. In prison, you got guys running around with shanks, pieces of steel, razor blades melted into toothbrushes, stuff like that. At Rikers Island, you can get cut. In prison, you can get killed. It's a whole different ballgame. I did a few years there, was released, went back to the streets. I had no preparation for life, so I just continued to do what I knew how to do. Pursue drugs, commit crimes, and get rearrested. Went back to prison. I got into some trouble in some of the mediums. I ended up breaking some bones, going to the box, which is isolation, being transferred to maximum security. Welcome to Attica. I was on the bus to Attica, and I was shackled with another young guy. We were talking and laughing the whole trip, which was about, I think, 8 hours, just like everybody else. I didn't realize we got to Attica by seeing it. I realized we were there because of how quiet the bus got. Everybody stopped talking. And the guy who was shackled to me not only stopped talking, he started crying. This is not uncommon, some of the younger guys pulling up to Attica. Attica, out of the 17 prisons I've been to, is the only prison that you have to worry more about the officers killing you than the inmates. Trust me when I tell you, they did not forget the riot. I spent some time in Attica, and then I went to the box there. The box in Attica is called the Snake Pit. From there, I went to the maximum security box, which is 24 hours a day, except for 1 hour at the back of your cell in a concrete pen. From there, I went to Sing Sing, and eventually maxed out of there, without parole. I was released, spent 2 more years going back and forth to Rikers Island. Eventually, had an epiphany. I got sober. If anybody ever tells you drugs in jail are not connected, I'll tell you that the minute I stopped getting high, I stopped getting arrested. Sorry, I didn't want to go over. Anyway, I went to a place called the Fortune Society. I spent some time in their housing component for a year. I went to school to become a substance abuse counselor. I became internationally certified. And I spent my time helping other people. I mean, I like helping people, but the truth is I had my own selfish reasons. Helping other people helps me. Today, I still work for the Fortune Society. I'm an animal advocate because I've always found myself to be closer to animals than people. my wife, of course, but animals I found that, you know, one reason that I'm so close to them and why they impact me emotionally is because the animals never betrayed me. Anyway, today I work for the Fortune Society. I moved on to become a building manager. I do manage about 6 buildings now. And I still work with clients on a daily basis unofficially. But pretty much that's my story for tonight.